All right, so let's start our recording. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise it. Toda Rabba for the reminder of Kochila. It is a rarity when we rehearse the Song of Moses. But for those of you who may not know, in the kingdom, the Song of Moses will be sung. You find it in Revelation that they sung the song of the Lamb and the Song of Moses. But ideally, when we consider what worship is, there is a ceremonial aspect of worship that included the priesthood. But the Most High is looking for his people to connect with him and live a life where we become the very instrument of praise, honor, and glory unto him. Why you say that, Moray? Let me just share with you a little bit. When we look at the sacrificial system, it points to the time where we ourselves become the living sacrifice. So we hear about Torah, the instructions being our schoolmaster. What is it teaching us? Where is it leading us? To the fulfillment of where every aspect of our lives give the Most High praise, glory, and honor. Our life embodies worship. Worship in the sense that, as Richard mentioned, not just in truth, but in ruach. So when we look at spirit and truth, emet and ruach, it is at that intersection we see that at Sinai, truth was given, which is Torah. But I assert to you that it was in Jerusalem that the ruach was given. Why? Because the Most High requires both to worship him. For they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. We are living in a cycle where our ancestors were given truth at Sinai. That word is truth, oh Yahuwah, your Devar, your word, the words he spoke to Moses, that is truth. They received truth. However, the Most High saw a need for them to have the Ruach, for them to demonstrate and walk out the truth that they were given. Hence, both are needed. Let's dive in. The significance of Shavuot. All right. One thing that we must realize about the Most High's dealing with his people, from Adam all the way down to the Mashiach, it's about covenant. What is a covenant? It's an agreement, a contract, a verbal or written promise between two individuals that frequently constitutes a pledge to do something or refrain from doing something. Covenants are really a type of contractual agreement that, if validly reached, is enforceable by a court. They can be phrased so as to prohibit certain actions, and in such cases are sometimes called a negative covenant. Get PowerPoint here to work a little bit better. I apologize. My screen is not moving. Okay, I just have to go old school. All right. When we think about covenants, a covenant often promises special benefits, rewards, or blessings for people who keep the terms of the agreement. This is why it is inconceivable for some to assert that they will get the reward from the covenant without keeping the terms of the agreement. The terms of the agreement given by the Most High is to do what he has commanded us to do. And if we follow his instructions to do what he has commanded us to do, then we will be a recipient of the rewards of the agreement. Covenants also threaten sanctions, punishment, or curses for people who break the terms of the contract. The Sinai covenant or the Sinai covenant or the Sinaitic covenant refers to a biblical covenant between Yahuwah and the biblical Israelites, including the mixed multitude or the proselytes. At this point, the term proselyte may not be applicable in the Second Temple context because during the Second Temple period, proselytes had to go through a formal conversion. Here, in the pre-exilic sense, proselytes are those who have joined themselves to the community and to follow the community rules given to Israel. The Sinai covenant was a conditional covenant, meaning if we follow the terms and conditions, then Yahuwah would do certain things. If we fail to follow the directions, then we become disobedient and we become recipient of the punishment that comes with disobedience, which are curses. The blessing or the reward for obeying are considered blessings. If we follow the instructions, we are rewarded by the Most High with his blessings. It was on Shavuot when the Sinai covenant was cut with Israel. That is why Shavuot is so significant. It memorializes, it recalls, it rehearses, it remembers, it celebrates Israel becoming a nation. As they were given this constitution. Not sure about anyone else on this call, but I am considered what is referred to in the United States as a naturalized citizen, meaning I was not born here. So I had to go through a ceremony to become a citizen. And as I went through that ceremony, way before my awakening, I had to agree to uphold the Constitution of the United States for that judge to give me that certificate of naturalization. Not sure about the Mishpika who are in the UK or who are in the US who are not born in the United States or in the UK. I don't know the process of becoming a British citizen if you have to agree to uphold the laws of the land. But for you, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I thought you asked a question. We have to do the same as well.
Praise Yah. This is not a foreign concept as we look at the biblical narrative. For Israel to become a nation, and Imo, thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to just talk a little bit here as I look at the time about our journey through church history. For the United States to become a nation, you know what they had to do? They had to develop founding documents. It's called the Declaration of Independence. You know what it's called? It's called the Constitution when the United States became a nation. So when Israel became a nation, the Most High gave Israel its constitution. It was not a bunch of men went in a back room, prayed as they allege, and came up with some words. We declare that all men are equal and have this inalienable right. The Most High wrote Israel's constitution, not man. So for you to be an Israelite and hate the constitution you find yourself in a dilemma. Let me get on this camera here. Let me just stop sharing for a little bit here and get on this camera. Mishpika, we can't have it both ways. We cannot listen. They look at you as one who is engaging in treason if you say that you love your country but hate the laws that govern the country. How does that work? Here, I can tell you here in America, we have what are called right-wing radicals, or some would even use the term conservatives. They say, Moray, you're too aggressive. It's Shabbat, take it down a notch. Okay, I'll say conservatives, where they'll tell in a heartbeat, I love America. And if you don't love America, you need to go find somewhere else to live, because here in America, we love our country. Some of these people allegedly loved America so much, they were willing to stage a riot at the White House as a demonstration of their love for their country. Israel. Do you love the nation of Israel? Do you love your nation? Do you love your people? Do you love your Elohim? It is a contradiction according to Mashiach if you say you love Yahuwah, but you hate his commandments. Israel had to agree to this constitution. They say, yes, this we will do. Just like I stood up before that judge and say, yes, I'm going to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. Our ancestors did the same thing. Let's be real. Let's be real. Mishpika, don't raise your hand. How many of you went through the ceremony and in your heart, you know good well you don't love the country the way you love it? You just did it so that you could get your citizenship. You don't have to answer. They tell you, well, let me tell you what they told me. If the United States decide to go to war, will you stand with the United States and bear arms? And I said, yes. But truly in my heart, I don't know if that's the honest answer. And I'm saying that for this recording. But those of you who can read through the line, you know what I'm trying to say. It's the same thing with our ancestors. Some of them, they just said yes because they were glad, they were excited. But then when it came down for them to follow through, hardness of heart crept in. And instead of them obeying the commandments, they disobeyed and broke the commandments. Mishpaka, do we have a heart to keep the Constitution of Israel? It is not so. So the assertion is, oh, you know, the laws are too hard. Are you saying that the Most High, in his infinite wisdom, does not know your capacity and would give you something that you cannot keep? It's almost as if he's setting you up for failure. What kind of Elohim do you think we serve? The author of Hebrews make it plain that the problem was not with the Constitution, it was with us, with our heart. So some would argue that since we have a heart condition, just do away with the commandments and that will fix everything. The Most High said, no, that is not the solution. So this narrative, oh, we couldn't keep the law, so he sent his son to do away with the law. Without the Constitution, you're not a nation. So the Constitution still stands. Let's move it along here, Mishpika. The covenant broken. Jeremiah 11:10. Look at the heart condition. They have refused to hear my words, and they have gone after other Elohims. The house of Israel and the house of Judah have broken my covenant which I made with their fathers. So what do? Do we just tear the whole thing down and say, since the covenant was broken, we're just going to do away with it in its entirety? No. Listen to what the Most High says. I'm going to restore the covenant, but this is how I'm going to do it. I will make a new covenant or a renewed covenant with the house of Israel or Yashrael and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers, my covenant which they break. But this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says Yahuwah. I am going to put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. How is this going to work? On Sinai or Sinai, the law was written on tablets of stone, but with the renewed covenant, it's the same law, but instead of the Most High put it on stone, he says, I'm going to put it in your mind and I'm going to put it in your heart. I'm not going to do away with the law. Oh my goodness. See, the law, we don't have to keep the law. If we say that the law is done away with, then we make the Most High a liar and we make Jeremiah a false prophet. Let's move on here. I'm getting a little too fired up. Praise Yah. The sign of the Sinai covenant was circumcision of the flesh, extended from the Abrahamic covenant over to the Sinai covenant. All males were commanded to undergo circumcision, Brit Milah. The sign of the new covenant is not circumcision of the flesh, but circumcision of the heart. If it was circumcision of the flesh, then those who were already circumcised would have to get circumcised again. But Moses said, no, I don't want to do re-circumcise your flesh. This circumcision is of your heart, because the issue you have while you broke the first covenant was not a flesh issue, but a heart issue. My goodness. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. Why? Why you need a new spirit? We're going to find out. I will remove your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes and to carefully observe my ordinances. The reason why we need the Ruach is so that we can walk in his statutes, to carefully observe his ordinances. The reason why we need the Ruach is so that we can keep Torah. Because without it, our ancestors failed. So the Most High is putting an additional support system in place to help you, to help me and my house, you and your house, to keep Torah. So it circles back to what Richard mentioned, worshiping in spirit and in truth. You have Torah, that is good, but do you have the Ruach of Yahuwah? New spirit, new heart, Yahuwah's spirit, and I will no longer hide my face from them, nor will I pour out my spirit on the house of Israel's, for I will pour out, let me back up and read it. And I will no longer hide my face from them, for I will pour out my spirit on the house of Israel, declares Yahuwah our Elohim. This is in Ezekiel 39:29. This is good to help those who lack understanding of why the Ruach is important, that Torah alone is not sufficient, that we need both Emet and Ruach. We need both Torah and the Spirit, because this is what the Most High is saying He will do. Let's get to Yoel 2:28-29. And afterwards I will pour out my Spirit on all people. Your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. Even on my men servants and maid servants, I will pour out my Spirit in those days. These are prophecies that the Most High gave to Israel. And I had to do some research. And listen, Mishpika, I'm just going to say this. We're at a juncture where we got to tighten up our research. We have way too many tools to allow ignorance to hold us hostage, where we use the common phrase, well, I don't know. Please, if you don't know, make it a point to research. We have a lot of tools. I have one tool. I type in what is the time frame between Yoel and Acts of the Apostles, and it gave me a time frame I'm going to share with you in a few minutes. The revelation and manifestation of Shavuot, the fulfillment. So we just read the prophecy, so let's see the fulfillment, the outpouring of the Ruach, or the inauguration of the pouring out of the Ruach, because the Ruach is still being poured out today. It was not a one-time incident, because if that was the case, those who are born after the first century would not have the Ruach if we say that, oh, it was just for that time, oh, it was just for the early assembly. And everybody born after would be in a deficit. Acts chapter 2, verse 16. Acts chapter 2, verse 1 to 16. I'm sorry, 1 to 6. I apologize. Let me fix my slide here. Acts chapter 2, verse 1 to 6. And when the day of Shavuot was fully come, how do we know it's fully come? When the counting of the Omer is complete. But if you don't know the cultural background of counting the Omer, it will just sound as if it's just a calendrical insertion where it's, oh, it's today's the day of Pentecost. No, it has a deeper cultural meaning, which signifies that when the counting of the Omer was complete, they were all with one accord in one place. Why? Because Shavuot is a traveling feast. And suddenly there came a sound from the Shamayim as a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them, and they were all filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, and began to speak with other tongues or in other languages, as the Ruach gave them utterance. Peter then explains, because there were a lot of questions. They would say, what's going on here? Sometimes I see Hebrews doing the same thing when they're in a worship service and people begin to use glossolalia or xenolalia. They say, what's all of this? What's going on here? Some of our ancestors had the same apprehension and some of the same questions and concerns. What's going on here? So Kepha stood up and said, ye men of Judea and all ye that dwell at Jerusalem, be this known unto you, and hearken to my words, for these are not drunken, as you suppose, seeing it is but the third hour of the day. But this is that which was spoken by the Navi Yoel. Here, Kepha is letting you know that this is what Joel prophesied about. This is the fulfillment of the prophecy. Now we have both elements of what the Most High requires to worship Him. We have Torah and we have the Ruach. Mishpachah, Without both, we are predisposed to failure when it comes to truly worshiping the Creator, when it comes to keeping the covenant agreement. As a covenant people, Shavuot not only reminds us of the Sinai covenant, but it also reminds us of Abba Yahuwah's fulfillment of prophecy, that he'll do what he say he will do. He said, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Now, let me give you the timeline. Scholars assert, and I use the word assert very intently, that the time between the book of Yoel and the book of Acts, it is approximately 400 to 500 years. Why are you saying that, Moray? Mishpika, sometimes you just have to wait for the prophecy to be fulfilled. I'm going to close by saying endure. Akot Sheila, thank you so much for your testimony. Thank you so much for sharing. Mishpika, it takes faith, believing in what the Most High has said, believing that one day the prophecy will be fulfilled. Mishpika, I pray that you're encouraged. I pray that you're uplifted. I pray that you find hope and strength that Abba Yahuwah will never fail. The enemy would want to tell you based on time that, see, it's not going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. And it's the likelihood it will not happen. But Abba Yahuwah is not like man that he would lie. He's not going to mislead you. So Mishpika, just endure and wait for the promise to be fulfilled in your life. Shavuot reminds us of Abba Yahuwah's love for his nation, that although they fail, he did not abandon them. Woo! Our ancestors broke the covenant. He was angry. They say, you know what, I'm going to stretch forth my hand a second time, and I'm going to redeem my people. We have a redeeming Elohim. We have a loving Elohim. We have a kind Elohim. And we're called to worship him in Ruach and Emet. We're called to live according to his Ruach and his Emet. And with that, Mishpika, I yield. I'll stop the recording here. Shalom, shalom.